Well, hey everyone, this is Dave Dubeau with another episode of the Property Profits Real Estate Podcast. And today with us all the way from beautiful Stockton, California, we've got Tamera Aragon. Welcome to the show, Tamera. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Dave. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So Tamera is a very, very accomplished entrepreneur, online entrepreneur, and real estate entrepreneur. She started her very first business back at the young age of 20. She's created and started multiple million dollar plus businesses. The last number of years, she's been doing real estate investing and has done a very large number of transactions, flip transactions primarily. So Tamera, definitely interested in hearing about your story. How did you first get into real estate investing as a business?
Well, I was walking through a sundry shop at an airport and a book called 1 Minute Millionaire popped out. And no one ever told me about that multiple streams of income thing, raised in a middle-class family, and read it and just became hooked on the concept, gave me a lot of hope that I could get out of my current situation at that time. And then the writers were not too far off from where I live in Los Angeles, and I was able to go see their free their free seminar, and ended up buying their program and learning the multiple streams of income. And I'm one that likes to look at things that aren't real pretty, or I guess I want to say I look at the good in everything. Yeah. So the idea of flipping a house to me just was very exciting, even though I'd never done any construction. And then my first deal was very successful. It took me about a year to get it, so don't think it. I'm giving you the very short version of my story. Yeah. And that very successful first transaction caused me to instantly quit my job, and I've been doing it ever since.
Wow. All right. Very, very cool.
That was the shortest version of my background I have ever said. High five to Tamera.
The 1 Minute Millionaire, was Robert Allen one of the authors in the book as well? Yeah.
Arthur Hansen and Robert Allen did that together. And I like the way it's written because one side's kind of a fiction story and the other side's a fact. Yeah, there's the facts behind it. I'm a little busy in the way I am, so I enjoyed that way of writing, and then I learned a lot. So
yeah, well, that's excellent. And then you took massive action, which is wonderful. So you've been focusing on flips that entire time. Is that correct?
I have several holds. I also do wholesale, and I'm focusing on lease options right now as well. So lots of different strategies. I actually have a book called 27 Ways to do real estate, and there's lots of different ways. Every house, I just figure out what's best. What's a win-win-win for everybody.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the buyer.
But it sounds like you're kind of more into creative type strategies versus the traditional buy a house, rent it out, hold on to it for a gazillion years. Yeah.
I do that if I need to. I can tell you a story recently why I had intended to flip, even had my money partners, as you call them, with me on it. We had totally intended to flip it, and I've had it, and I was able to get the right amount of rents, which makes me sound kind of mean, but the rents were so low, it was like double. So we're taking in like $4,000 a month, and we're all just happy, and we're just sitting on it. So sometimes it just works out better to keep it.
There you go. Well, you're flexible, so that's great. So one thing that I always love talking with experienced real estate investors, especially in the kind of fields that you're focusing on, Tamera, is what's working best for you for finding motivated sellers. Because in order for your business model to work, and correct me if I'm wrong, you need to be able to get the properties at a significantly below, I wouldn't say market price, but below after repaired value price, most definitely, in order to be able to go in, make all the repairs that you need to make, hold on to it for however long you have to hold on to it, sell it, and create a reasonable profit for yourself and your investor partners. So there has to be some spread in there. What do you find works best for finding motivated sellers?
Well, before I answer that, I want to point out where I live, California.
Yeah.
Right up the road, houses are selling and, way over asking, very difficult to find good deals for some right now. So I will say that I've really developed an excellent system. And I didn't do it in the first minute of my business. So remember, this was 13 years ago when I started. So I started by knocking on doors. I started by putting bandit size out. I started by handwriting letters because I couldn't afford to pay for marketing. So for anybody listening that might be in that place, but you know what I didn't have that we have now? The internet. We had the internet. So one of the things that one of my softwares that I sell offers a push button way to go find for sale by owners on Craigslist and Zillow. So if somebody had to manually do all that stuff, that's great. And then with that, there's some really ways that you need to talk to the sellers that are important, not just reading a bunch of questions. And I have intake lead people now that do some of this stuff for me, and it takes a lot of time to get them to get it right. It's about connecting with the seller. People buy from who they know, like, and trust, and finding their motivation. And those two things take a little bit of, there's a way of doing it.
Finesse involved.
Yes. Yeah, I was going to use that word, but yeah, some training. There's some books. Actually, there's a book I'm just reading right now. On that note, if you don't mind, I'll share that. And I just want to get the name right. So it's called Never Split the Difference, Negotiating as If Your Life Depended on It. And it is one of the best books on how to talk to people and get them to listen and figure out how to create what I call the win-win. So my favorite question I always ask in not in the first second, but in a way, however it needs to be asked, is what do you want? What do they want? I mean, if all they're looking for is a lower price, then hey, you're going to have a hard time, because anybody can do that. Then it just becomes about $1 more, right? So I always, when in talking to sellers, try to really dig and pay attention to what it is that they're saying that they want. And I tell them, I just want to create something that gives you what you want and what I want, and let's see what we can do to make this work. And so I think a lot of the reasons a lot of people don't do well is when they finally do get a seller on the phone, which is, always not the easiest thing, is they don't really work with the seller to meet their needs.
It's a take it or leave it kind of a conversation, is it?
Yeah, it's a networking business. This is a people business. Unlike people would like to think, it's a people business all the way around. And I've just built good relationships with, okay, so you asked me where I'm getting my deals, let me tell you that. So I have a really good system I've developed, or I work within, where I use some direct mail, but the direct mail generates phone calls that go into it just gets them to pick up the phone and call. It doesn't really give them enough information, like, I want to buy your house.
Curiosity.
Exactly. So it's a curiosity piece. Gets that, like, that says, hey, you really urgent, you need to call me about your house. And so then they pick up the phone, and then there's a little recording. But the bottom line is I got their phone number now. So, and then my lead intake people, I have thousands of calls. And these are people who are receiving the cards because we know they have a problem. We know they've either, there's a reason we've sent them this card. Sometimes it's foreclosure. Sometimes it's late on tax. Sometimes it's just because it looks like they've owned a house that they don't live in for 10 years, thus perhaps a landlord, that maybe they might be thinking about selling. That's not so motivated. But so, we send direct mail pieces to people who aren't necessarily on the radar for sale. And then we entice them with this card, and then follow up with some more regular letters. And we keep calling until they just tell us to go away.
Or they sell you their house.
Yeah, or sell us their house. And the truth is, a good percentage just say, you know what, I don't have a house for sale. I don't want to sell the house. And, we don't bring up the problem when we talk to them. We just tell them we're buying houses in their area. So that's key too. Don't talk about, if you're going to knock on doors to a person in pre-foreclosure, don't mention that they're in pre-foreclosure. That's not helpful.
Okay, yeah. Hey, I got your name off the pre-foreclosure list.
Yeah. You look like an ambulance chaser. It's horrible. So no, you're just buying houses in the area, and you want to know if they
happen to come across theirs, right?
Yeah. Well, I send out thousands. It could happen, I guess.
Yeah.
So my direct mail is in a system that goes into a CRM system, and we call a lot of different times, and text message, and just really push. So that's working really well. And then I've also I have a good network of other investors. And what I might want, somebody else might not want. I mean, what I want, they might not want. So we just trade off. And sometimes I've made, let's say, I'm just going to throw a number, $25,000 on a $125,000 house that I never had to buy because I wholesaled it.
Wow. That's a very good wholesaling fee. My goodness. Yeah.
It happens. It happens often, actually, because right now houses are hard to find, and I'm getting them. So
because you've got the marketing system in place, And just the little bit that you've told us about it, it's a very, very robust marketing system with a lot of moving pieces and a lot of people involved. And quite frankly, most people are just either too lazy or too busy or just not organized enough to get something like that set up.
Exactly. But it pays off. I mean, it pays off big time. I mean, I'm not the one. I got people calling for me right now that aren't in another country. They're sitting in my office. We're a team. I mean, we work together to make this happen. And I think team, people, networking, other investors, like I said, I got realtor friends. I've been doing it so long, I just make a friend with everybody that I know. And it's just been helpful. So just remember, everybody you know probably has or knows someone with a house. And just let them know what you do.
Yeah, definitely. But just because, again, marketing is near and dear to my heart as well, Tamera. So can you give us because you're doing this as a serious business. It's all about a funnel. You're starting out with a whole bunch of leads at the top and you're putting them in. And at the end, you're getting a little stream of quality leads at the bottom. At what point do you actually get involved in the process?
When they set an appointment in the area, like I just got back. In fact, it was not even close to the area. And I was like, oh gosh. So I called the guy and just kind of talked to him a little bit more because I didn't want to drive. Ended up going there. I just got back and I met him. He was kind of an older gentleman, ready to be done. It was vacant, had some bad tenants, didn't want to refill it. And we just connected. I mean, we just connected right off. I really was kind of surprised that I actually got to, another big trick, I want to call it a trick. It's not a trick. Bring a contract with you, okay? Be ready to close. So I had the contract with my dollar amount that I wanted to pay before I got there on it. Now, I still had to cross out a little number on there, but we were able to come up with something that made sense. But he and I connected, and I just said, he goes, well, what's next? And I said, well, I have the paperwork in the car. I can just bring it in and we can just be done. You can just be done. So I said, oh, okay, go get it. So I did, and he filled out the paperwork, and I could tell he was like, is this it? Is this it? I'm like, this is it. I'm going to go and open escrow at a title company, and they're going to call you, and you're going to go sign, you're going to get a check. That's it. I handle it. Really? That's it? I go, yeah, really. I mean, even he was like, it's not that complicated. It isn't that complicated. Then he does even something else a little bit better. I go, well, and I might want to have my contractor come and crawl inside that attic just to make sure what you told me, because I can't see it. Do you mind do you want to meet me? And mind you, he's an hour and a half away. That's why he wants to get rid of this place. He goes, well, maybe I could just give you the keys. So I actually got the keys.
Yeah, well, you know what? But it was not just that conversation. You've already built up trust before you even met with the gentleman, right?
No, I didn't. My lead intake person. I never even spoke. Yeah. In fact, I walked up. He goes, "Are you Kayla?" And I said, "No, I'm Tamera." He goes, "Oh, I thought Kayla was coming." I think he just didn't her because he didn't tell her I was coming. But yeah, it's a people business. I mean, really, it is. And we have to have systems in place to generate the leads. Like, okay, so that's two. I'd say there's two big sides. So there's the direct mail. Some of that comes through, and then I have a scraper system that goes out and pulls the Zillow, Craigslist, push button, instant text message. Pick up the phone and call, and they're responding to those text messages. I'm telling you, if you have contacts and text message them, I mean, it works out really well.
Well, especially if you text message, I need to talk to you about your house.
And they're selling it. Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's for sale by owner. I mean, they are selling their house.
Right.
And then there's the voicemail system, that I could just push a button, upload a spreadsheet, and send a voicemail to 800 people at the same time. So there's lots of systems that I use that are very cool, that are really helpful. My lead intake people use CallRail to make the calls, so I'm able to listen to any calls I want, and I randomly, and they'll tell me, I'm having a hard time today. Why don't you, let me listen to a couple and see where you're at. Mm-hmm. So, every call is recorded.
How many people do you have making calls for you?
Just 3. Not that many. Yeah. And actually there's systems you can even buy for that like randomly ring 10 numbers and when one picks up, but I don't like that sound. Have you ever done that where you ever get a call where there's kind of a click and a hesitation and it's going to be a salesperson. So that's what that one does. And so I don't want to do that. I am a little more down home. The people that I have working for me are like family. I have one person with me for 12 years.
Wow.
The lady I just hired, actually, I've known her since she was a little girl, but just worked for me for now maybe 4 months. But yeah, so yeah, and then I'm in a realtor's office, and my husband's getting his license, and the other guy in there, and we got a property management. So we're building kind of as we call it, just a machine is what we're looking at.
Well, it sounds like you've got the organization and the systems in there very, very well dialed in.
But I want to help others that don't yet. I mean, I'm hoping and talking that,
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about that then, Tamera. So first of all, because we're running out of time very, very quickly here, if people want to find out more about you and perhaps how you can help them set up their own machines, what should they do?
Well, I've got a free resource at reiposse.com. If they go there, they'll get a book, 27 Ways to Find Real Estate, some of those finding resources.
Nice.
And then they're become part of my posse, which means you're going to get some emails from me, which you can unsubscribe anytime. But basically in the emails, there are a lot of free and charged different emails, resources that will be helpful to you in building your business. And then I have locatorgold.com. Locatorgold.com. You'll see a little 20-minute video from me on there where I have a system that allows you to find leads from your desktop. And if you punch in some leads and an investor buys them, you get paid $1,000. But you only need to supply a little bit of information. You don't have to get into a contract. Don't hardly have to do much to earn a little.
It's not quite wholesaling.
It's a good starting. It's a good way to just kind of get your feet wet. And also, frankly, you can wholesale or flip those same properties. You don't even have to give them to me because now you have access to the system.
Beautiful. Tamera, time flies when we're having fun.
He said it was going to be short. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's going to be crazy. Okay.
But I also told you if we're having fun, we get to come back and do it again.
Exactly.
Which I hope we can. That's for sure. So,
great.
Tamera, very, very nice to meet you. Thank you very much for sharing some of your wisdom today on the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, everyone, take care, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye-bye. Well, thanks very much for checking out the Property Profits podcast. And if you like what we're doing here, please head on over to iTunes, subscribe, rate us, and leave us a review. Be very, very much appreciated. And if you're looking to create a regular flow of inbound investor inquiries about your real estate deals, then I invite you to attend one of my upcoming live online demonstrations. And you can check that out at investorattractiondemo.com. Take care.